All right, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends, we're back with some more reactions. I didn't do any on Sunday. I've been too busy studying for a real estate exam in the United States, as well as, for those of you who don't know, I'm a university professor here in Korea, and our semester got postponed for 2 weeks. So we were supposed to start on March 2nd, which would have been this last week. And it got postponed for 2 weeks, so our starting date is now March 16th, which is a week from today. But they told us last week that from March 16th to March 27th, which is essentially 2 weeks, is not postponed, but now we have to do online videos for our classes. So we're not going to meet in class, we're going to have to do online videos for our students to watch. And this is particularly difficult. I have no problem with online classes or anything like that because, you know, that you can learn online. I can learn from a book by myself. I don't necessarily need a professor in a lot of subject areas. However, the class that I'm teaching this semester are speaking classes, teaching Korean students how to speak English better. You can't do that online. You can do grammar points online. You can say, okay, here's a grammar point, here's a worksheet to work on that grammar point, but that's writing and reading English. So to actually get better at a language, you physically need to practice speaking that language. It's no coincidence that I'm pretty good at Korean writing and reading, and my listening and speaking in Korean are so-so because I don't have a lot of time to practice it, or whenever I start speaking Korean, a lot of Koreans just speak English to me. So even though I tell them not to. So to get better at a language, you literally have to speak it out of your mouth, even whatever you're thinking, and learn the translation rules. You can't do that online unless you have some sort of online class, which I've been trying to mess around with those. All that to say, it's been a lot of work for the last week now that they've told us that we have these online classes, because I've never taught an online class for speaking, or any class for that matter. And it's just kind of frustrating because, you know, I already have set out what I teach during the semester normally, but to try to make videos and do editing like I do for YouTube, I'm essentially making a YouTube video for my students, but it's not music reaction. So it's kind of funny, but I'm editing and stuff like that, but how I teach my class when I'm live. So it's just kind of weird. But we are back. It's a Monday and we're ready to get into some more Steven Wilson. But I specifically said on the last Steven Wilson song that I wanted to hear him in the context of Porcupine Tree, because as I've come to learn through doing Steven Wilson, he's essentially the founder or the main guy when it comes to Porcupine Tree. Left them and kind of went on his own to do his own stuff and to start other projects as well. So I wanted to see him in the Porcupine Tree context, and I have one subscriber who is awesome. We tend to be on the same wavelength when it comes to our musical tastes. He has been kind of pushing me to do this song by Steven Wilson, thinking that I'll probably like it, which I think I'm probably going to like it at least. I haven't had a single Steven Wilson song that I didn't like. So this is called Trains. I don't know anything about it, I just know it's in the context of Porcupine Tree, and I'm excited to listen to it. So stop talking, let's get to it. Oh, it's like an acoustic sound. Reminds me. Oh, I like that.
Shiny and contoured, the railway winds.
Right.
And I've heard the sound from my cousin's bed, the hiss of the train at the railway head.
Beautiful.
Always the summers are slipping away.
Ooh, I like that. Time signature.
60-ton angel falls to the earth. Pile of old metal, radiant
I like the effect on his voice. It's very kind of like ghostly.
scars in the country, summer earth. Always the same.
Love those voice parts. I knew that was coming. Hooky, very hooky. I've never heard the song, but I knew that was going to happen. That's beautiful. An acoustic solo, I like it.
When I hear the engine buzz, I'm kissing you wide. Distance subsides, I'm in love.
This is very Wonderwall vein. Don't piss on me for saying that, but it's got that kind of feel to it.
Dying of love, it's okay.
Which I don't think Wonderwall's a bad song. I think it's a good song. If there's any haters out there. Little folky. I like it. It's beautiful. Man. This actually, I mean, now that I'm learning Steven Wilson, there's a lot of similarities between all these songs that he writes. Like this part specifically sounds similar to
When I hear the engine buzz, I'm kissing you wide.
the first song,
Distance
Routine.
subsides,
Or
I'm
Routine?
in love. When the evening reaches here, you're tying me up. I'm dying of love. It's okay.
Is that real clapping or is that backtrack? Sounds like a backtrack. Nice, waited, good transition. Da 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 da. Lots of repetition in this song, but it fits the context of the song, in my opinion. This is a pop song. I mean, you could hear this on the radio very easily. If people still play stuff on the radio. What can you say? Beautiful. Okay, one of my pet peeves in high school and then specifically in college was when I would explain my idea of music and what good music is and my favorite band, which was and is Dream Theater. And I would all of a sudden get pegged into this, like, oh, he only likes technical stuff or that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, there's a bunch of stuff that I like. And I'm going to say this very clearly to all of you, I like simple as well. I like some pop music as well. So I'm not one of those people, obviously if you've been listening to my channel, I think you should get this notion that I'm not just looking for something that has to be technical. Now, there still is the reality that things are technical versus more simple in nature, but I don't think that that means like that song is greater because it's more technical or more difficult. No, you can have a more technical or difficult song that just doesn't fit well, or you could have a simple song that's too simplistic that just doesn't fit well. For me, the idea is, whether it's simple or technical, is it well written, well constructed, that has some intricate parts that are not necessarily only reduced to how hard it is to do or how technical it is to do. So I love lots of pop music. I told you before, I love 80s music. And I think Wonderwall is a great song. So even though I connected to that, which a lot of people make fun of that song because it's like the #1 song that people like play at open mics because it's so simple pretty much. But this kind of had that feel, but it's a good song. Is it technical? No. But it's still a very, very well constructed written song, has a hook, has a lot of repetition that kind of draws you in, and it has good voice parts. That's great for a song. I thought it was awesome. I looked at the lyrics afterwards and I was like, yeah, still don't really get it. 60-ton angel falling from the sky, whatever that stuff means. It would be, and so this is my one caveat to what I'm saying when it comes to pop music. My one caveat to that is, if you're going to be on the simple side, or you're going to have more of a poppy vibe, because there's so much pop that's inundated in our societies, not just society, and there's just so much of that that's replicated over and over and over again. If you're going to be on the side of simplistic, non-technical, more emotional, I think you're gonna have a harder time standing out as different. It's gonna be harder for it to not sound like everything else. Now I would say this song sounds similar to a lot of other pop songs, but very different in that my favorite part of the whole song was right before the breakdown of the folky stuff, when they were doing all those different variety of voices, like da 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 da. It's like a very well constructed vocal arrangement of harmonies, and then it broke into that like folky part where they're all like clapping, and then it builds up again at the end. So I think that was a great thing. You've got to do that kind of stuff when you have more of the poppy feel. So to give you another example of this, which I think this is not completely a good analogy of like how it fits poppy, because I think this is a pop hit, but I think it's more technical than typical pop stuff, and I'll explain why. I've said who my favorite band is. I kind of can tell and have told you kind of what I like in music overall. But ironically, and I've said this in other videos, my favorite song in the last decade, at the moment, this can change, but at the moment, my favorite song, which is funny because it doesn't typically fit what I look for in a song, but this song is just killer to me. And that song is Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. And that's a very poppy hit song. But why is that, to me, one of the most amazing songs? The reason why is it fits more in the simplistic or the emotional poppy kind of mix. But the feel of the song, bluesy, is so well constructed. It's so well constructed. And it's just like a low, slower tempoed song, and it just hits the feels. And then when it's connected to the lyrics, which again, I said lyrics are third or fourth on the list, but if you could have them, it just is what makes the song perfect. His lyrics in that song are perfect. Now, people are going to be like, oh, is that because you had an experience of breaking up with a girl that took a long time to break up with her and realize you should be breaking up? No, I didn't have that experience, but I can relate to the experience that he writes about in that song because it's an experience everyone can understand. But the symbolism of slow dancing in a burning room and how he, like, in the verse 1 and verse 2, like, captures the scene of this idea through these, like, small little analogies is absolutely brilliant. And then couple that with, like, the beautiful, like, just groovy, bluesy feel of that song is why I think it's my favorite song in the last decade, or I don't know how long it's been since that song's been written, but it's been a while. That song is my favorite song, and it has been for the last, like, 6-7 months. And that's more of, like, not what I would typically like in a song. So I'm saying pop music can be great. So I just get fucking annoyed when people are like, oh, you like Dream Theater, so that means you only like really that. No. I love the whole gamut of music, but I still have like things that I look for within that context of whether it's poppy, whether it's heavy metal, whatever it is, there's still some things that it's got to hit for me to like it and think it's a good song. So all that said, this song was more simplistic, but it captured the feels very, very well. And I mean, Steven Wilson, I'm starting to see, after this is like my 5th song of listening to Steven Wilson, I'm starting to see like a lot of his fingerprints and what those fingerprints are. They're becoming more distinct and clear, and to the point where if I was just walking randomly in some store and Steven Wilson, well, that's never going to happen in Korea, but if I get back to the United States or something and a Steven Wilson song or a Porcupine Tree song came on, I would be like, oh, I think that's Steven Wilson. I'm starting to get the distinction of what he's like. So I definitely enjoyed it. Great request. I'm looking forward to hearing more Steven Wilson stuff as well, whether it's in the Porcupine Tree context or whether it's him by himself. I don't really mind. So give me those suggestions. Thanks very much. See ya next.